the day all night as we did, as everybody across the country did, the last thing that they're thinking about is going out and buying a new shirt.
Well, in any tragedy, and this tragedy is unspeakable in its dimensions, there are unfortunately some who will try to take advantage of others. Deborah Marchini is here now and has for us the story of what is simply price gouging by some, particularly in the area of gasoline.
That's right, and particularly in the area of the Midwest. It's interesting, Lou, because the attack, of course, devastated New York and Washington, but the spike in gasoline prices and the long lines as well were mostly in the Midwest. At scattered stations in Indiana, Ohio, and Oklahoma, for example, we saw prices ranging from $2.99 all the way up to $5.19 a gallon. Now, the region's especially vulnerable to any interruptions in supplies, and consumers there know it.
It's like what I call the St. Louis snow effect. One of the things that we see in St. Louis is we have about 4 snowstorms a year. And they're typically not a big deal, doesn't disrupt traffic for very long. But if you go to your local grocery store, you'll find 10 registers running full open with customers 10 deep, all buying milk and bread. And I think American consumers have been trained to believe that if there is some impact that could involve the Middle East, you better gas up. And that's what they did all at once. And the supply system is not geared to handle that sort of surge in demand.
And the problem is demand because supplies were not affected by the attacks. The American Petroleum Institute, for example, reported today that fuel inventories rose by about 159,000 barrels. Now, major oil companies, including ExxonMobil and BP Amoco, froze prices to wholesalers. Chevron promised to exercise restraint, and Conoco wouldn't comment. Lou, the promises are really public relations. Most of the major oil companies don't own their gas stations, right, and so can't control what those retailers charge.
It's an extraordinary situation that anyone would take advantage here. I guess that one of the first things we should do is take our hats off to ExxonMobil and BP Amoco for having the courage to freeze those wholesale prices and exact whatever discipline they can. And I will tell you that I'm sure that we and other news organizations are committed to publicize those companies which both hold the line appropriately and with integrity, and those certainly who fail to do so.
The glare of publicity has already resulted in some service stations at least lowering the prices they jacked up yesterday.
Well, how much of this are we seeing in other industries?
We are not seeing very much of it in other industries at all. We have heard scattered complaints by consumers about car rental companies, but no real evidence that they've changed their rates at all. The same is true with hotels, with stranded travelers around the country.
What can be done here?
The interesting question is, from a legal standpoint, there isn't very much. You know, from a federal level, you have to prove that oil companies colluded or that oil gas stations colluded when they raised prices. They're no more likely to be able to prove that than that banks collude when they raise the prime lending rate. On a state level, some states have legislation in place that allows them to act. Other states just simply do not. It is not against the law to raise prices.
Okay. Well, it's against a lot of other laws. All right. Deborah, thank you. Deborah Marchini.